guys, in this video we're going to be making a Death Star heart and we're going to be using some modelling paste. You just need a heart-shaped cutter and I'm going to dye the modelling paste grey. I'm going to roll that out, leaving it quite thick, and I'm just going to push a mark on with the cutter and I'm just going to now press around with my fingers, just rounding off the edges, so I haven't actually cut through it with the cutter. It's just to give me a rough guideline for where to rub with my fingers. And I'll do this all the way around and then I'll actually push the cutter in and just neaten off the edges by rubbing your fingers along the edges. And again, I'm just going to continue to round it a little bit more. Now I've just got the end of my rolling pin now that I'm going to use to put the centre into my Death Star. I don't know what that part of the Death Star is called, but the round bit that goes in the middle. Only I've put mine off to one side. You can put yours in the middle if you prefer. I've just stretched it a little bit where I've pushed the rolling pin in, so I'm going to push that back down with my fingers. And now I've got a selection of different circles cutters in different sizes. I'm going to push these around the dint that I've made to create some little lines. So next size down, just in that. Just neaten any bits off with a little modelling tool. So I'm using my smallest circle for the centre, which I'm using a piping nozzle for. And just another circle that's a tiny bit further, or a tiny bit bigger even, just around the edge of that one. And now using my tool, I'm going to draw lines from the centre coming outwards around all the levels of the circle. Okay, so I've rolled out some modelling paste and realised I forgot to put my line in the centre. So I'm just going to put my line across the centre of my Death Star with my modelling tool, and I'm just pushing slightly deeper at either edge. Now, because that was drying out while I was putting my centre bit in, I've just re-rolled the modelling paste as it was starting to dry and crack a little bit. So keep it nice and thin, and I'm going to cut a strip and I'll just place it over my Death Star so I can see size-wise if it's okay or not. I'm going to start this one just under the centre line, and what I'm going to do is cut it into pieces. I'm cutting it into pieces, they're all different sizes, some thicker, some thin. I'm going to stick these now in a line, leaving a tiny gap between each one, and I'm just using water to stick it on with, but you can use edible glue if you like. So I'm going to do the same again for the bottom bits. So the pieces are getting quite small. Now don't worry if you've cut the pieces out and then you find they actually don't quite fit. You can still move them around and trim bits off when they're on there. So I'm just trimming that one at the very edge. Now I'm just going to do the same again for above my centre line. So I'm going to cut a strip. This one's going to be a bit more fiddly because we've got to get it around the circle that we've put on. So I'm going to use a cutter that's a similar size to just press a slight indentation in so I know where my circle's going to need to go. But then I'll take that off, put it on my board to push the cutter in properly. So again, we're going to cut this into sections, and I'm cutting some tiny pieces about 1 millimetre in size out of the ones that are around the circle. Usually you can just pull them apart by 1 millimetre so they've got a space in between, but if you do that where the circle is, they won't match up with the circle, you see. So stick these on, again in a line, getting them around the circle this time. So I've just cut another strip, this time to go on the very top, and I'm going to push this in place, so I'm folding it round. You'll see it's too big at the moment, but what I'll do is I'll trim that. So I'm just trimming along the back edge so that it's level with the back of the heart. Now because we're using modelling paste, it should be quite firm. So if you drop it like I just did, it shouldn't matter too much. So one last strip now to cut to go in that gap. So again, just measure to make sure it's thin enough to fit. And I'm going to cut it into pieces, different sizes. So once you've cut them to size, get them stuck on. This time I've just cut little sections out of each of the rectangles as I've got as far as the circle bit. Then we've got all the bits stuck on. Now we're going to add a bit of shading. So I've got a black rainbow dust, so these ones are edible. And I'm just going to use a dry brush to brush it around the edges, and I'm going to try and get it in between all those little squares and rectangles so it's darker in the background. So you'll see I've put mine on some kitchen roll. I just find I'm quite messy when I'm doing this and I do get the dusts all over. So once you've got enough of the black on, so I'm happy with mine as it is, we're going to put on some highlighted areas now. You can use a silver, a white, or I've actually got an ivory one here, which looks quite nice when it's on. Again, using my dry brush, just dab off any excess on your kitchen roll and then just dust that on. So your light areas are going to be at the opposite side to your dark areas. So you see I've mainly put the black on the right hand side, so I'm going to try and dust the lighter areas now on the left so it looks like the sun or the light is coming from the left hand side. I'm going to stick some cocktail sticks in mine just because I'm going to use it as a cake topper, and with it being quite heavy it will struggle to stand up on its own. So I've inserted those into the bottom, which you don't have to do if you don't want them in there. It's all finished. Pop a picture of it on my actual finished cake for you to see. I've also made an R2-D2 cake topper as well in a similar style to this, so please do check out the video. Thanks for watching.
If you liked this video and would like to see more, please click on the images of the other videos suggested. Also, please do subscribe to my channel using the button at the bottom right hand corner of the screen. You can also visit my cake website and my Facebook page to see more cakes and ideas.